Hey, thanks for tuning in. Years back, when my wife and I were still basically newlyweds, we tried going paleo. I won't go into the why, but I will say that it didn't last long. It turned out that neither of us had that much discipline when it came to what we ate. But we did come away with it with a fantastic recipe, and it was for chili lime chicken wings. Now, chicken wings work great as backyard food or appetizers, but they're kind of hard to pull off as a dinner. So I adapted the recipe for salmon instead. And quite honestly, it's just as fantastic. To start, as you can see, we're going to need a shallot. We're also going to need a few cloves of garlic and a nub of ginger. It's already peeled, it just needs a rough chop, like the shallot and garlic. These will all be going in the Food Pro. Next are some green onions. I'll lop off the roots, then hack them up. White and green parts. The very tips of the greens are a little rough, so I'll chuck those. Now we get to the chili part. I'm using jalapeno, and serrano works great in this recipe as well. If you're a regular viewer and you watched my episode on firecracker beef, you know that my family isn't big on the heat. So I'm going to use a spoon to scoop out the spiciest part of the pepper, which are the seeds and the white fibrous bits that hold them in. Definitely feel free to leave these in if you want more kick. Once done, as with everything else, it just gets chopped roughly. And here's our second key ingredient, 1 lime. I'll use a microplane to get the zest, and later on I'll also be using the juice. Now we get to the everything else part of the ingredient list, and that's made up of a handful of fresh cilantro, a couple of tablespoons of fish sauce, and a couple of tablespoons of light soy sauce. I also have one more ingredient, which I'll get to later in the video. For now, I'm going to put everything into my trusty little Food Pro. So that's the cilantro, the shallot, garlic, ginger, and green onion, the juice from the lime, the soy sauce, the fish sauce, and a little splash of veg oil to keep things lubricated. I'll pulse this quite a few times. I really want everything pretty broken down and liquefied. In the end, it should look a little bit like a really runny pesto, but trust me, it doesn't smell like any pesto you've ever known. Finally, we have our star ingredient. I've got a beautiful entire side of salmon. It's been deboned, but it still has a skin on. I just prefer cooking salmon with skin on, even if that skin eventually ends up getting removed, like it will for this recipe. This piece is big enough that I can get 3 generous-sized portions out of it. You can, of course, use fillets if that's what your store has. That's not a problem at all, and it saves you a couple of minutes' work. Alright, we've reached the most important step of the recipe, and that's to marinate the salmon in the cilantro pesto. I just put pesto in quote marks. Lay these in flesh side down and wiggle them a bit to make sure the marinade really sloshes up against all the exposed parts of the fish. Let this marinate in the fridge for 1 hour max. Any more than that and the lime juice will start turning the salmon mushy. Okay, so here's the fish after 1 hour. You can see how that marinade has penetrated and started to change the look and the feel of that salmon. It's finally time to cook. So I've got a few tablespoons of veg oil in the pan, and it's on medium heat. I'll scrape off as much of the marinade as I can from the fish and lay them in skin side down. Now, the presentation side of this fish is actually the flesh side, but I'm putting them in skin side down first so that when I pull them out, once they're cooked, the skin side will be facing up, and that just makes the skin easier to remove. Of course, if you're using skinless salmon, this entire part doesn't matter. It's been 5 minutes, so it's time to flip the salmon. I'll let this go another 5 minutes. Alright, my salmon is cooked. The outside's nice and dark, and the inside should still be pink and beautiful. I'll flip the fillets onto their sides just for a second, just to kiss them with a bit of color, and then they can come out. Then I'll wipe the pan down and get it ready to make the sauce. That starts with a marinade, which I'll pour into the pan. Immediately, so nothing burns, I'll also add a can of coconut milk. I'll stir this around and bring it to a light simmer. The sauce has been simmering for a few minutes, and it's time to taste and make final adjustments. It needs a bit more fish sauce. And some sugar to bring out the coconut. One more taste, and this beauty's ready. And here it is, my chili lime salmon. Oh, wait, I think I forgot something. There you go, a beautiful piece of perfectly cooked salmon. I like presenting it this way because then I've got a little pool of sauce that I can spoon up with the fish as I eat it. If you'd prefer to just pour the sauce over the fish, that works too. So what else can I say about this dish? It's delicious, obviously. It's definitely not paleo. It's moist, tender fish paired with a tangy, slightly sweet sauce, which, if you leave the chili seeds in, will also give you a pretty nice kick. It's fabulous. I don't ever do these, what I call cheese pull moments, and I probably should, but I just had to show you guys the inside of salmon. Yeah, look at that. That's my dinner. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative or entertaining, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them below, or you can also send them to the Instagram. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.